Would you be upset if your wedding photographer took your contract, cashed your check, and was against the very values and morals that you believe are right? Maybe this doesn't matter to some, but today I want to dig deeper and find out, does it matter or does it not? Leave it alone, let it go, or let it be known. Hey guys, and welcome back to this episode of the South Asian Wedding Guru. My name's Amy Rigetti, as always, with love, your podcast host. And today I'm going to be talking about the stuff that happens behind the scenes in the industry market. It has been brought to light to me that we do have those among us who are shooting under the disguise that they are an equal opportunity employer, have you? However, they do have a little bit of bias when they hire shooters as to whether or not they're a believer, and they have certain outings and gatherings together that may not promote the bonding that we would believe would be promoted in a team building type of environment. And so I was just curious moving forward, if this is something as a South Asian bride, would you be bothered with if you knew that the team that you had hired actually was kind of not in the same lines with you and openly speaks about it, that they don't believe in idol worship or that they don't do any type of weddings relating to the LGBTQ community? Would that bother you? What if I told you that, this is something that within a contract was maybe stated that a particular photographer might not even want to shoot this wedding because this is against their beliefs as a Christian, and yet they're against that, but then they're covering South Asian heterosexual weddings because they're heterosexual, even though they don't believe in Hinduism, and that also is against their values. Would that affect your wanting to book those services? And is that something that you feel is none of your business and should be left aside? And as long as their work's good and they provide, that you're fine if they choose to hide? I'm just curious. It's a question that I asked another Indian vendor of ours because I wanted to know what she thought as an Indian, the Indian community might think. And she responded to me saying that she doesn't think that they would care, that she believes that if the budget and the number is right, that's all that mattered. And I was willing to say, are you sure? Do you believe that would be the case? And so I want to pull all you ladies out there listening. What do you think about this? Does it matter or does it not? Big deal or not a deal at all? Lock it up. You tell me. I'm just curious. So I want to talk a little bit more about what's in the industry and what it is that we're seeing so that you guys can be informed. And if this is something that matters to you, how you can protect yourselves in order to make sure that your morals, your values, and your beliefs stay in line. I have this belief that most of the clients book based on the per. And this is just a comment that I make because I've been in the industry so long. So it is the acronym PRR, and I call it PER because it is portfolio reviews and reputation. And this is something that, depending on that, usually clients are going to be like, yeah or no. But do they dig deeper? Do they check into whether or not the practices in which your vendors are doing are on the up and up? Some people just simply feel that nothing more matters other than, like I said, the portfolio, the reviews, and their reputation. So where does this have you falling in between? Do these things matter? I am so curious because I don't know any other way to poll the market other than to do a video on this situation because I want to know, what is it that you guys feel? I look out in this community and I'm on Instagram and I see it as such a all-encompassing community that embraces all things as long as they are full of love and kindness. But if you were aware that maybe in the background, things were not what they seem, would you be okay with that? Would you want to know? And if you were to find out, who do you think it would be better to hear it from? Someone in the industry, or would that be something that you would feel would be not so good to hear it from? Do you want to hear it from another bride? Do you want to hear it from someone who was personally affected and came to know this? What is it that you feel would be appropriate to learn these, and whether or not you feel that it should be brought to light in any situation or just kept to yourselves? I know that we are in a world where event professionals within the wedding industry. There are not as many as I would love to see in the market, especially it's hard to get girls or convince girls to bring them outside of the market because they're thinking it's more costly. But if this was something that you knew was a very reputable vendor in the area that all of your friends were using, would you want to know if this was going on in the background? Because the reality of this is a lot of clients will actually never know what the policies and internal happenings are within a company until it's too late. And will that taint your experience as a customer? If you were to have a wedding and you were very pro certain rights or certain beliefs, or come to find out somebody had made a remark or joked or laughed in the background about your wedding that they had covered, would you feel this would affect you? And if so, would you want to know in advance because you feel having found out after the experience would take something away from your wedding because you felt that you maybe had provided or funded or promoted a company in which you don't believe what they're doing is right? There are some companies out there that prioritize Christian staff, that do have faith-based classes within their workspace. And this is something that I feel, if as a bride you feel that this might take away, I think that these things should be prevalent and they should be out there and they should be known so that you can base and spend your money in a way that makes you feel proud. And to top it all off, if you found out that those very same businesses were allowing their employees to sign contracts that stated that they would not cover certain weddings because it was not within their morals or beliefs, is that okay? Do you find that okay? Is that legal? So what happens, for example, if it's in our industry and you have a person who, a company in which you hire to shoot your events and they take your contract and they take your deposit and they cash that check and it comes to your attention, or within the company doesn't come to your attention, that these particular people do not want to shoot these weddings. And so they don't assign shooters to their events until the events themselves, preaching that they are under this particular umbrella and that you're going to have a great shooter. What if that's not the case? What if they are designating shooters to shoot based on what their religious beliefs are and what they're not? Would you be okay with it? Again, I'm just curious because I don't know if these practices are ethical or even legal. If you're a lawyer out there, I would love to know what the stance is on this. Is this okay? Do they have to be forthcoming? Is this something that later could result in a lawsuit? These have me very curious as I've made it a point this month to start meeting with a vendor a month. Like, it's so hard for us to get together with our vendor family because the only time we do see most of them is at weddings during busy season. And then we're all trying to breathe and spend time with our families on the non-busy season. But it's one of those questions that happen to arise as I'm going out there and meeting with people at my meetings and talking to people on the phone, having Zoom calls and saying, hey, I know we're too far to get together anytime soon, but let's just chat for like 15, 20 minutes. And then these things are like brought to your attention and you're like, wow, your mind just explodes that you cannot believe this is really happening. Like, are they really doing this? Because they are. And I'm just curious, as a South Asian client, if it would bother you if contractually someone did not want to shoot your event or was shooting your event, but in their contract stated they wouldn't cover another event for another particular belief. Would you be okay with that? Or would you want to know? I mean, it's an honest question that I feel deserves transparency. And I'm just wondering, what is it as an industry we can do to guarantee that we are also valuing our clients' beliefs and moral code and their values? South Asian weddings often include Hindu, Sikh, Muslim, interfaith marriages. And I just am curious that if this is something we as an industry should work harder at protecting against in order to keep this industry loving and kind and creative and in a way that protects our clients from being used. I mean, that's essentially what it is, right? Your beliefs and morals and values are one thing, right? But when it's openly demonstrated that those are against your beliefs, and yet a contract and a check is still accepted because the South Asian community brings good money in, is this something that we should learn to be a little more open about and service the community that you love? Or does it just not matter? If the client is getting their expectations met, do you just leave it alone? I This has been eating at me for a while, and I just really need to know. If we were in this situation and we knew, would you want to know? And the only way to know that and get a voice from you guys is to have you drop it in the comments so that we all can read it as vendors and kind of get an idea of where we should go with this information. So, Amy, you've brought up this topic. It's obvious that you know something, so you're saying something, but what is it that I can do to protect myself? I'm thinking that if I had to give you 3 tips of advice on how I think that you could protect yourself in your experience as you move into your vendor selections, I would make sure that I did these 3 things. Clear contracts. You always want to make sure that in that contract, upfront, forefront, most centered, so that you know what you're getting is what you're getting, is make sure that there's an exact name of a person where possible that will be covering your events. So for example, if you have a wedding coordinator, it needs to state in there the exact person that is going to be showing up and covering your events, not the company, but the name. Same goes for photo, video. This also goes for your officiant. Mostly this really applies to when you're hiring big companies that you don't get to firsthand interview with that particular vendor that's going to be showing up and dressing out for your wedding. There are a lot of companies that offer multiple services under a big umbrella. And so you work with a sales guy, and then that sales guy sells you on whatever, and then you get dispatched somebody on the day of. And while there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, everybody needs to eat a dinner, right? The fact is that you're also paying a premium price to know who is going to be present at your wedding, and that whatever services are being provided to you that you've paid for are exactly being provided by the individual in which you've been shown their work, so that you make sure that you're getting exactly what you paid for. That's rule number 1. Rule number 2 is be direct. Directly ask if they have any situations in their company that would maybe put a little bad taste in your mouth about those experiences, and that you just want to be forthcoming and upfront in this because you really are part of wanting to make a change. And these things we know are a problem. Like everybody always says that Chick-fil-A is one of those companies where I just feel like there's a lot of employment that goes on there because of connections, but often enough, those connections are at a local religious place of worship. And that's where a lot of those people come from. I would like to say that I see a lot of change happening at, Chick-fil-A's that are not in like little suburbs, but in the cities. I do feel like they're getting way more diverse, and you are seeing a difference in there. But these things do happen among even large corporations. And so being direct sometimes is the only way to get those answers, especially if you're not speaking with the person providing services at your event itself and you're speaking with people in sales. You know that if you ask that question and they get a little caught off guard or they're hesitant, there's probably some truth to be told in that. So dig deeper. You deserve that, and you owe it to those in your circle that you believe deserve it too. The next and final third is an inclusivity check. Check them out. If they're saying it, are they putting their money where their mouth is? So if they're saying that they shoot, LGBTQ weddings, do they have it on their website? Are you seeing it on their website? Most likely, if you're not seeing that on their website and they're saying that they shoot it, they could be shooting it and they're just not proud to shoot it, so they're not putting it out there. I know that we do have weddings that we do, that we shoot, and they have asked for whatever reasons not to share it. We had one particular couple that said that they didn't want us to share it because the other one was in the military and he had henna done on his hands, and he was like, I could get reprimanded for that. So unless there are pictures that we can show, and then I'm like, I don't know, other than like detail shots, there's nothing really I can show where there wasn't going to be henna involved. And he's like, so I'd rather just play it safe. There are instances and situations like that, and many people do far and few in between. But when there are people that are openly doing certain types of weddings and you're just not seeing them on their site, chances are that they're just not disclosing those. They're willing to take the check. They're willing to take the contract, but it goes against their beliefs. And that is alarming to me. So make sure that you do your homework. Make sure you do your research, especially if something like this really matters to you. I'm not saying it does to anyone, but this is something, again, that I feel for my brides, for my clients, for the community, that I feel it's in your best interest to know, because we do have some clients who are very sensitive to that and feel wholeheartedly that they just would not want to support something like that. And I want to make sure that I'm keeping eyes open, ears open, and everyone is being vigilant so that they don't have anything tainting their wedding experience. So they took your contract, cashed your check. Are you still happy? I want to know. Drop your comments down there and let me know how you felt about this episode. Was it a little too mirchi like? I want to know.